So here we go with the basics of solving any equation on a graphing calculator. So key thing is here, any equation. So any equation you ever see, here's the equal sign, you can solve on your graphing calculator like so. So on the graphing calculator, I'm going to use the zero function to find out where this whole thing equals zero. So obviously it doesn't equal zero. So what you're going to have to do on the calculator to solve any equation is set it equal to zero. So you don't really have to write this down, but I want to make sure that you see this. I'm going to subtract x, and then I'm going to subtract 7. And now it would be equal to 0. And the calculator is good at finding where functions equal 0. You just use a 0 key. So this is what I want to do. I want to find out where this equals 0. And I'm going to do it with a graph. So that's an unnecessary step to actually write that out because it's very simple to do. So I'm going to show you that right here. So on the graphing calculator, you want to go to y equals. So here's your graphing calculator. Hit y equals. And then type either the left or right hand side on the graph. I'm going to do the left hand side because it's a little bit more complicated. So 3x cubed and then minus root of x. So you're going to have to be able to find all these keys. And then now there's the equal sign. So I need to bring everything over. So I'm going to bring this x over and make it minus x, and bring the 7 over and make it minus 7. So minus x, minus 7. So now my calculator is all ready to find the 0 of that, which is the solution to that equation. So hit graph, and the 0 is where it goes through the x-axis. That would be where y equals 0. And that's really what we're looking for. And there's the graph. Did it pretty quickly. And I can see that it equals 0 right here. Now, just a thing, you should have your calculator started out in the standard zoom. So I'm going to hit zoom 6. And to tell that it's in the standard zoom, you can see all these little tick marks here. There should be 10 tick marks on every side of the origin. So now you know you have it zoomed standard. We may have to mess with that if we can't find the 0, but this is pretty obvious here. Since we have it zoomed in that standard zoom, our 0 is right between 1 and 2, so 1.5-ish. Now we want to get much more accurate than that, but we do have a good idea of what it is. So to get more accurate, we're going to hit the 0 calculation. So you could hit second, calculate. So that's the trace button. You'll see above it, it says calculate. So second, trace, which is the calculate screen. And we're going to find the 0 of this. That will solve the equation. So hit 2 or scroll down to 2, however you want to do it. And then here's the thing. You need to give it some boundaries. You want to be to the left of the 0 first. That's why it says left bound, and to the right of the 0. And there's 2 ways to do this. If you can clearly see, well, I'll show you the cursor way. You can see the cursor. You want to make sure that cursor, when it asks for left bound, is to the left of that 0. And when we say left, it's just draw a line straight up from that cursor. You can see it's to the left. So I'm going to hit enter. And you can see it, at least my calculator draws this little line that is definitely to the left of this 0, which is at 1.5. And then it will ask for the right bound. So scroll to the right of that 0. So I'm still to the left right down here. Not until I get up here am I to the right of it. So anywhere to the right's fine. And then it will ask for a guess. If you went left and right correctly, the guess doesn't really matter. Just hit enter. And it will jump to that 0, and it will tell you the 0 is 1.478423. So I'm going to say 1.478 approximately. And I'm done. So I'm going to show you a quicker way to do that. because as you do a lot of these, you're going to get a little bit lazy, which is okay, because the whole point of the calculator is to do this quickly. So let me show you that quickly. Now, it won't always be so obvious, so this next way I show you won't be always the way to go. So always know every way you can do this, but I can hit second calc 0. And if I don't want to do all the scrolling, I could see that my 0 is about 1.5. So instead of scrolling from the lower limit, or oops, I must have hit the wrong thing. Hold on. Second calc 0, 2. So something was wrong. It said lower limit down there. That's how I knew I hit the wrong key. I'm looking for left bound. Just pick any number that's to the left of 1.5 because that's what we know the 0 is about. And just make sure that the graph exists there. So I'm going to say like 1. And then on the right hand, I'll hit 2, enter. So 1 enter, 2 enter, and enter for a guess. It gives me that. So either way is fine. I'll show you one thing that happens sometimes when you're doing this. The most common error is something like this. Say I want to hit the 0, second calc 0, and I say left bound, right bound, and I didn't cross that 0, it will always say no sign change. That means your left and right bounds weren't correct. You have to go back and make sure the left bound was really to the left of it and the right bound was really to the right of it. So another way is when you hit the table, sometimes you can see the zeros, sometimes you can't, but you know that it has to be where there is a sign change, just like it said. So you can see the Y values, they're negative until you get to 1.5. So somewhere between 1 and 1.5, that meant there has to be a 0. That's what we got, 1.4. So that's a little bit more advanced, but that's it. The next video I'm going to supply is something that it gets a little bit more complicated. I mean, it's always that easy to find a 0, but to actually hunt them out and use your calculator, it gets a little bit tricky sometimes. So stay tuned for those videos.